Here's my viewing audience for my persuasive speech. Okay. Now I'm going to hand it off to my aunt to tape.
Okay. Maybe you can edit.
No, it's on.
Go on now.
Title of my speech is called Seatbelts. Okay. What would you say if I told you there was a simple piece of fabric that could help save your life? You would probably think, no way, a piece of fabric could do that. Well, there is. What is this fabric? The seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt can mean the difference between life and death during an automobile crash. The seatbelt can keep you from being ejected from the car or flying through the windshield during a crash or when your car is forced to an abrupt stop. How can a seatbelt protect you from flying through the windshield or being ejected from the car? Because of inertia. Inertia is an object's tendency to keep moving until something works against the motion. If a car is traveling down the road at 60 miles per hour, inertia essentially wants to keep it going 60 miles per hour in one direction. Essentially anything in the car accelerates the riders, essentially anything in the car, including the passengers, have their own inertia separate from that of the car. The car then accelerates the riders to its speed. The speed of the riders as well as that of the car are close to equal, causing the riders to feel as though they and the car are moving as a single unit. However, if the car were to crash, it would then be obvious that the car's inertia and that of the riders were not equal. The force of the crash would cause the car to come to an abrupt stop. However, the riders would still be going the same speed. This is where the seatbelt comes into play. If you are not wearing a seatbelt, the force from the crash would cause you to slam into the dashboard, the steering wheel, or the windshield at a speed of 60 miles per hour. However, if you were wearing a seatbelt, there would be a stopping force applied to the more sturdy parts of your body, keeping you from slamming into the steering wheel or other parts of the car. You would shift forward just a little, and then the seatbelt would then stop you from going any further and slightly thrust you back. I hope to provide you with information that will sway you into wearing your seatbelts and possibly save your life. Seatbelts are put in cars to help save lives and prevent injuries. What is a seatbelt? A seatbelt is a sturdy, flexible piece of fabric that lies across your lap and straps across your shoulders. How does it work? A seatbelt is essentially a stopping force that can control the more sturdy parts of your body during a crash and prevent serious damage. If the seatbelt is worn correctly, it will apply a strong stopping force to the ribcage and pelvis, which are some of the more sturdier parts of the body. According to HowStuffWorks.com, seatbelts extend and retract, but during a crash, the belt will tighten and hold you in place. Seatbelts also work alongside car airbags. If you're not wearing a seatbelt when a crash occurs, you could be thrust into an opening airbag, and the force from this could possibly kill you. During a crash, if you're wearing a seatbelt, you're restrained and usually remain inside of the car. During most crashes, being thrown from the car most often causes serious injuries and even death. Seatbelts are usually the best defense against distracted or impaired drivers. Who invented the seatbelt? According to About.com, the first U.S. patent for automobile seatbelts was issued to Edward J. Claghorn of New York, New York on February 10, 1885. Niels Bohlin, a Swedish inventor, invented the lap shoulder belt. The belt was introduced by Volvo in 1959. Wearing a seatbelt can be the thing that saves your life during a crash. In 2008, more than 13,000 lives were saved throughout the United States just by wearing a seatbelt. From 2004 to 2008, seatbelts helped save more than 75,000 lives. Each year, more than 17,000 lives could be saved just by wearing a seatbelt. In 2002, nearly 33,000 people were killed in car crashes. Of those, 60% were not wearing seatbelts. Only 1% of people who were wearing seatbelts were ejected from their car. However, 73% of those who were ejected from their automobiles, whether restrained or unrestrained, were killed. Failure to wear seatbelts contributes to more fatalities than any other traffic-related accident. According to CarAccidents.com, 63% of people killed in accidents each year were not wearing seatbelts. Hospital care costs for each crash victim who are not wearing a seatbelt is 50% higher than that of those who are wearing seatbelts. However, it is society, not the individual, who pays 85% of those costs. Each American pays around $600 per year toward the cost of car crashes. Seatbelts also reduce the risk of death for a front seat passenger by 50%. Making sure the seatbelt fits right is also very important. According to TrafficSafetyMarketing.gov, when choosing a car, check to see if the seatbelts fit. If the seatbelt fits poorly, it may not work properly. Some older vehicles only have the lap belt. However, the lap shoulder belt is more efficient, and you should contact the car manufacturer about getting the seatbelts updated. Before buying a car, make sure the seatbelt is a good fit for you. If you need a roomier, more comfortable seatbelt, see if seatbelt extenders are available. Seatbelt laws are used to try to make more people wear their seatbelts. Seatbelt laws are divided into two categories: primary and secondary laws. Primary laws allow police officers to ticket drivers for not wearing a seatbelt without having any other traffic violations taking place. Secondary laws allow police officers to ticket drivers for not wearing a seatbelt only if they have other traffic violations taking place. 31 states in the United States, the District of Columbia, American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands have primary seatbelt laws. 18 states have secondary seatbelt laws. New Hampshire is the only state to not have primary or secondary seatbelt laws. However, they do have a primary child passenger safety law that covers children under the age of 18. West Virginia has secondary seatbelt laws. Persons 8 years and older who are riding in the front seat without a seatbelt may be fined $25 for a first offense. Any children from 8 years old to 17 in all seats of the car caught not wearing a seatbelt may be fined $25 for a first offense. Texas has the toughest primary seatbelt laws by far. Any child less than or equal to 7 and are less than 57 inches tall, up to 17 years of age, caught not wearing a seatbelt in all seats of the car may be fined up to $200. Certain promotional activities and ads have also been used to enforce seatbelt laws. Some of them are Buckle Up America, Buckle Up Every Trip, Every Time, and Click It or Ticket. And this was a poster that was used in the United Nations about seatbelts, and it says, "Too late to fasten your seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt reduces the risk of being ejected from a vehicle and suffering serious or fatal injury between 40 and 65%. And it says, "Be a part of the solution. Wear a seatbelt." The Seatbelt Education Campaign was founded in 1985. The Ad Council, along with the United States Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, launched the Seatbelt Education Campaign in 1985. The campaign created public service announcements using crash test dummies, Vince and Larry, to promote seatbelt usage. Some of the slogans from that were, "Want to keep your face from breaking out? Wear your safety belt." And you can learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle up your safety belt. There's that. People can become involved with their community to enforce seatbelt laws. People can contact and work with their local state agency to get the message across. People can also work with the local schools and hang posters to promote seatbelt usage. It is interesting to think that such a simple piece of fabric could save your life. Wearing a seatbelt is an easy, simple thing to do, and by just clicking in our seatbelts may be one of the most important decisions that we make in our lives. In conclusion, I hope I have provided you with enough information to convince you to wear your seatbelts and hopefully save your life.